Talking to your kids about divorce. This is one of the most difficult things about a divorce. Get it right, and your kids are mentally and emotionally healthy and they have happy relationships. Get it wrong, and it's like years of therapy and possibly a lifetime of horrible relationships and dysfunction. Let's dig in. Hey guys, Jeremy here. I am your mindset mastery guy and peak performance relationships. And divorce is ugly. We all know that, or at least it can be ugly, and for most of us it is. But having to explain this to your kids can be heartbreaking. They've looked at you and mom as like the ideal of what it means to be a relationship. So I'm going to break down a couple of key pieces that are going to make this an easier conversation for you. We're going to talk about how to make it age appropriate so that we're not introducing more complexity than we need to, because sometimes guys, we try to get things right and accurate and thorough, and we put way too much out there for our intended audience. And I'm also going to cover some ways to leave things open so everybody has some room to breathe and keep moving forward without a lot of recriminations and finger pointing. And you want to make sure you stick to the end, because I'm going to cover also, I have a guide for you. This is an important conversation for you to have with your ex, and we don't want to get into a yelling match. So how can we clean that communication up? I have a special gift for you I'll talk about at the end. So you ready? Let's dig in. So first thing we got to do is we got to have a frame of reference to make all of this make sense, because hopefully this is your first divorce. This isn't something you've practiced. And so it is a game changer for life, for love. More than likely, you never thought this was going to happen to you. You never thought your marriage was going to fall apart like this. There may have been cheating, drugs, like all kinds of hinky stuff going on. I'm not here to lay blame or point fingers. I don't do fault, blame, guilt, shame. I just look at systems and processes. And in this situation, I'm going to give you a frame of reference to help you explain to your kids and possibly make it clear for you too. So right here, we call this the reason, season, lifetime, or RSL. And you can see it's a plus sign and then parentheticals and then straight lines. The plus sign is the reason. You have life coming along this way and then life coming along this way, and where they intersect, that creates a moment of impact. That's where you had your kids, right? They're the reason for this marriage, is your kids are here. We're going to use that in just a moment. Then you have the season, where things come together for a time and then they separate again. And that's really what this marriage was. For now, this is the season that you're in. The energy came together and now the energy is separating. A lot of times that can be difficult to let go. How do we define ourselves? What really matters? What's the priorities? What does it say about me? A lot of questions. So while you're reeling inside yourself after getting hit pretty hard, now you got to explain to another human being. And it's so easy to fall into fault and blame on pointing at other people, and then guilt and shame pointing at ourselves. And none of that helps, because I'll talk in a second about the developmental stages. This can really mess up your kids when they start getting too much information or they're hearing too many different stories. And so the last piece of this frame, this reason, season, lifetime, is the two parallel lines going in the same way. This means two things come together and they track together for a lifetime. And you want to use these three pieces. Get a piece of paper, write down those symbols, the plus, the backwards parentheticals, and the horizontal or the vertical lines. Write those down as you explain to your kids. There's this thing called a reason, season, lifetime. And daddy thought marriage with mommy was going to be lifetime. And unfortunately, turns out it was just a season. It was just a period of time. But what's really cool about our marriage, and I know it's falling apart and that part's not so fun, what's really cool is the reason that mommy and I got together is you. The fact that you were born is the greatest gift that could ever have been given to me in this lifetime. And here you are. And I'm going to be your daddy for a lifetime. I'm not leaving you. I'm not abandoning you. And mommy's going to love you the best way she knows how to. And this is where you can introduce, if there was issues of cheating, issues of drugs, issues of abandonment, mommy has to deal with whatever it is that she's got to deal with, and we can't be a part of her journey. But for me to be the best daddy, I can't be with her anymore. And for her to be the best mommy, she can't be with me anymore. That doesn't mean we're bad people. It just means the two of us together wasn't the best that it could be. And so now we're going to end our relationship. It's called a divorce. That lets us start to open up to other opportunities to be happier. Because if daddy's the best he can be, and mommy's the best she can be, that's going to help you be the best you can be. And so that right there is a frame of reference and a story that you can give your kids that allows everybody room to kind of breathe, take the tension down. Yes, I know the reason you're getting divorced, values were violated, betrayals, hurt feelings. There's a lot of energy we could throw at each other. But the key thing is your kids are half you and half mom. And when either one of you villainizes, attacks, destroys, character assassinates the other, you're hurting your children because that's part of them. They love you both, and they love you both and want you both together. They don't understand. And so that leads us to the conversation about developmental stages. Okay, guys, if this is making sense so far, give me a thumbs up so that I know this is landing, because that helps me to get this information out farther and wider and help reduce the suffering around us. Now, when we get to the developmental stages, there's a couple of different phases we want to think about. And really, it's like birth to about 3 to 5 is one stage, and then about 6 to 8 or 9 is another stage. 10 to 12 is a stage, and then 13 to about 16, 17. And then we've got 18 and beyond, and they're not kids anymore. And so when you're in those stages, the kids are going to need different things, different reinforcement. They have different ways of operating. Throughout all of it, though, kids are going to be much more egocentric or self-focused, self-centered, simply because they don't know what else to do. They don't have any other frame of reference. They're still building all their experience. And so for the really, really young kids, up to 3 to 5, that's when empathy starts to show up, the ability to care about what other people are doing and feeling. So for them, it's 100% who's right, who's wrong, am I good, am I bad, and am I wanted? And when they see mom and dad no longer together, there's a fear in all of the kids about, well, you abandon mom, what's going to stop you from abandoning me? What if I'm too much? What if I'm not enough? And so this is where we've got to be very careful on our emotions. If we are upset, it's very easy for our children to take ownership of our feelings. And somehow they think it's their fault that we're upset. They feel our tension. They don't know why. They see that we're angry. They see our body language, our tonality, all that stuff. And they go, I did that. And so we want to be very careful about separating who they are versus what's going on. Honey, I love you. Daddy's got a lot on his shoulders right now, so I just need a moment to breathe. I don't want to yell at you. You don't deserve it. I'm just frustrated with myself, or I'm upset about something else, and I don't want to take it out on you. You don't deserve it. You're amazing. I love you. High five. So when we do things like that, we frame for the kids, you're in a good place. We're connected. I love you. I support you. Goes back to that lifetime energy I talked about. And so this is how we start to assure the kids so they're less afraid, less fearful. Now, in that middle stage, right, after about 5 years old to up about 8, 9, kids normally are what we call people pleasers. They want to be a good boy, be a good girl. They're kind of like what I call dog training mode, and they just want to know the right things to do so they can go do it. And this is where mom and dad on different pages causes a lot of conflict, because the kids are like getting used to one way of doing things, one person's house, one person's rules, one person's routines. Then they go to the other person's house, everything changes. So in this stage, again, you want to have, giving them clarity and certainty, it's helpful to have written down rules and guidelines for the kids so that they know how to operate, okay? And then as we get into the 10 to 12, this is where the peer group starts to change and their needs for mom and dad change. They're much more, I can do it myself, stop telling me what to do, let me do it on my own. That's kind of normal in that age. So there's a lot of conflict because mom and dad's influence goes down, peer group's influence goes up. And what are my friends doing? What do my friends think? And what matters to my friends? And so this is like the normal sequence. When kids go through a divorce situation, a lot of times they will mentally develop faster. So you can have that 6, 7, 8-year-old kid pushing against resistance. And I can do it myself, stop telling me what to do. They're trying to be more self-reliant because they don't know that they can trust you or mom not to abandon them. So as we explain to them about the divorce, we've got to protect their sense of self-worth, their identity, so that they can just be themselves and not feel like I'm wrong. If that becomes part of their belief system, that BS can damage them. This is where we see kids going into things like cutting, risky behavior, gravitating to people at that 10 to 12 range that make them feel a certain way, but might not be healthy for them long term. And we as adults see it, we try to stop it, but our kids are defensive against us because you abandoned mom, you're gonna abandon me, stop telling me what to do, get off my back, get off my case. So helping to understand these situations, take a deep breath, and then you can go in and you can be a resource and an ally for your kids. But understand the developmental stages. It's okay if you don't know this stuff, because developmental psychology is only about 150 years old, and most parents are so busy parenting and living and producing and providing and like the food and the shelter and the chores and everything that it requires to live, this is probably not on your highest point of radar, which is why you have guys like me creating content like this to help support you. Hey guys, now I'm curious, you've been listening to me for a few minutes. What has been the most, whoa, like I didn't think of that. What's been the biggest impact for you so far? Please leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to know how this is landing for you. Before I get to the last piece I want you to think about, I want to remind you I have a special gift for you in just a few moments. It's going to help you with your communication with your ex. So the last piece to think about really is leaving room for the future to be bigger, brighter, bolder, better. Because the truth is, this is a season, my friend. And no, it's not easy. It's painful. It's heartbreaking. I went through this myself, and I had a relationship end after 5 years and spent several years kind of like just destroyed emotionally. I didn't date. I didn't want to date. I hated certain people's names just because of the name, because of the association. Dude, I went to a dark place for a while. I know I'm feeling for you. That's why I'm creating this for you, and I want to make sure it lands. But I can tell you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And no, it's not an oncoming train. It is a brighter, better future. When you work through whatever caused the divorce, whatever caused the conflict, you work through that, you can come out stronger, smarter, more capable. And you want to leave that energy, that attitude, that openness for your children as well. This is a difficult time. It's a lot of transition. No, it's not fair. You're absolutely allowed to feel what you feel. And I know we are all going to come out of this stronger, more thoughtful, more sensitive, more aware. Paint a bigger picture for them in the future of the skills they'll develop, the confidence in their head and their heart, the openness they have, and the willingness to love, because that's where all the good stuff is. And sometimes you get hurt along the way, and that's okay, because you learn and you grow. And by staying focused on that compelling future, it gives you and it gives your kids hope. Hope that what's going on now isn't going to be forever, and that we have choice in how we feel and how we think and what we focus on. So these are the biggest 3 tips I could give you, is how to get clear to your kids. Be real, but not be like so open and honest that like you end up damaging them or putting more into them than they need to know. Now, remember I said I had a guide for you. So if you guys go in the description down below, and it's the first comment that's pinned, we have a special guide, how to not yell at your ex. Because this is an important conversation, and being on the same page, you don't have to like each other, but you've got to at least support each other in the eyes of the kids, because they're the ones that matter going forward. They're going to raise your grandkids. So if you don't want to have that yelling match, if you want to improve your communication, just hit the link down below. You'll get my free guide, and it'll give you some really cool tools to make this easier when it comes to communicating with your ex. Hope you found value in talking to your kids about divorce. I look forward to serving you again. You make it a fantastic day. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.